Hello YouTubers, welcome to another Tesla vlog with me, Adam Well Informed. So just a super quick intro for those that don't know my EV journey. Cutting a long story short, I've been driving a Tesla Model 3 SL Plus since December 2020 and I've owned ICE vehicles prior to that. I've done either a Tesla vlog entry or a Tesla video almost every week since I took delivery of my car. This is also my sole family car. It will complete around 10,000 miles per annum, which is the average annual mileage for the everyday driver. So I put myself directly in that bracket and in the shoes of the everyday driver, just like most of you. Since last week, we had the UN's climate report, which a code red warning was present. In addition to this, I've also seen some ridiculous claims by a UK government climate spokesman that just lacked serious knowledge of the capabilities of Teslas and some of the latest EVs in the market that would have met her so-called unique requirements. I also saw a well-known UK newspaper publish an article stating electric cars take 10 years to outcost a petrol alternative. Come on, this is complete and utter tosh. And I did a similar video just a month or so ago, and it details a full cost comparison against a BMW 3 Series. 10 years would be just beyond a joke. In respects to that article though, I've never truly appreciated a paywall that stops you reading the rest of the article. If the paywall can stop me reading it, it can also prevent a hell of a lot more readers reading it too. But this actually got me thinking, what are the most common misconceptions of electric vehicles and what holds back ICE buyers from switching? Running a YouTube channel, I get negative feedback from time to time. Some of them are genuine constructive feedback and I have no issues with that. We can't win everyone over and everyone has their own circumstances and criteria to fulfill. I get that. But the remaining negative feedback is generally just outdated statements, or they're seriously uninformed and they just have no intention of switching, as if they don't like change, period. So what are the most frequent misinformed statements and the most bizarre excuses preventing ICE buyers transitioning to the Tesla Model 3 and or other electric cars? How can we well inform them that EVs and Teslas are the future of driving? I just want to point out here specifically that I'm not aiming to prove them wrong, which sounds like a bizarre take, but stick with me here. There is meaning in the madness. Well, I hope. Only you can be the judge of that. What I'm actually trying to do is convince. Let's face it, no one likes to be wrong, and how we execute the correction to the statement can make the difference between, oh sheesh, I didn't know that, and no, I'm definitely right, you mug. Saying that though, I think we all know someone that will state the last one, regardless of how convincing you are, generally a work colleague. But if we can convince just one person that has been misinformed, that's one more EV customer of the future, and they can then do the same, and so on, and so on. But before I convince the most common reasons why people don't want to switch and how to convince them otherwise, I split the video into segments so you can easily navigate through each point after viewing the full video for easy navigation thereafter and to help share certain segments of interest. So let's get stuck in. So the first one I have stems from a comment I received. They're not that much better for the environment. Funny that. And he's talking specifically about the Tesla Model 3 here. I kid you not, this is a true comment. So the most obvious statement here is the car has no exhaust pipe. It doesn't emit any gases or fumes. But what they're actually referring to here is the battery setup and the manufacturing, and how that's supposed to be even worse than an ICE vehicle. What's really interesting here is Tesla actually released an impact report just this week about their whole carbon footprint and their environmental principles. It's actually a really good read if you have the time. If I cherry pick the exact page that would help address this, and the graph on the screen will actually help address not just the manufacturing, but also the lifetime emissions of the car. So this takes into account the United States grid mix, which isn't the greenest of grids in the world, and yet the point that truly sticks in my mind is the electricity grid is getting greener, ICE vehicles do not, which really nails it on the head for me when it comes to the vehicle and the grid state. Resorting back to the battery manufacturing comparison, depending on your usage of the vehicle, the manufacturing emissions do vary, especially when it comes to ride sharing, but at the moment the most common will probably be personal use and using the grid. The graph here shows that fractionally the Model 3 does use more emissions to produce. It's actually a fact according to this. This stems mostly from battery production, but what it's not taken into account is the battery recycling. But recycling a battery at the end of its life essentially means there is little to no new battery material required for the next production car. That will essentially mean batteries will be sustainable and have a circular model of recycling, thereby meaning the batteries can be reused again and again, which is simply mind-blowing that every battery is and will be recycled. The report even goes on to say building more localized factories like the Berlin factory for the EU market and building an even more localized supply chain will also go on to improve efficiencies and reduce emissions further, which is common sense as transportation time between parts and the car itself plummets as does emissions used for it. So it's not just the grid that will get cheaper. The actions and practices undertaken by Tesla will also reduce manufacturing emissions, but the battery being more harmful emission-wise is just total cap, especially with the circular recycling model that's now in place by Tesla. The next one doesn't stem from a comment, but it's something that constantly comes up in conversation. But to me, it's even worse that it's misquoted in news articles as part of an anti-EV agenda. This being that the car takes hours to charge. This is an absolute classic statement, and whilst there is some truth to the matter, really the proof is in the pudding. If we did use our standard plug charger, so a 3-pin here in the UK, it would take hours to charge. But the reality is, if you want a fast charge, we use the ever-growing supercharger network, for which Tesla can deliver 200 miles of range in just 15 minutes. That's over 3 hours worth of driving at an average of 60 miles per hour. Tesla even stipulates in the report that drivers are likely to take a break after 4 hours of driving or 300 miles. If you take a break in a nice car, you go to the loo at the services and then you get a coffee. Well, these superchargers are also very specifically situated next to facilities that you desire. These facilities usually offer restrooms or toilets, cafes, restaurants, and sometimes even shops at retail parks. The main issue you'll come across is actually having enough time to go to the toilet and then grabbing your coffee, as it's usually done before your rest break is over. This then leads me to my next point. Range anxiety. Gone are the days of EVs being little city run-around cars. 10 years ago when the Nissan Leaf was very popular, it had a very small battery and it would have been a very functional city car, especially with its limited battery range and limited fast charging capabilities. But these days, EVs are completely different, most enjoying over 200 miles, and the Tesla Model 3 long range achieving an official rated 360 miles. Whilst these ranges are lower than most petrol and diesel cars in the market, chances are you won't notice the difference. Why, you may ask? The average driver in the US completes around 10,000 miles a year, and it's even less here in the UK. That means, on average, the individual would complete just 30 miles a day. I currently own the lowest range Tesla at over 260 rated miles. If you're doing 10,000 miles a year and you are the average driver, you won't even have a sniff of range anxiety and you'll end the day with bags of miles left. The major difference between ICE and electric is you subsequently top up the battery via your home charger daily, and it takes just 1 minute to plug it in. With home charging, you never wait around for it to charge, and you never have to go out your way to queue and refill up your car with fuel, not to mention the price differences between the two. If you want to know differences in the running costs, just take a look at the video that I put on the screen for you now. If you currently drive an ICE now, make a note of your daily mileage. Would over 200 miles or 300 miles cover it before recharging every night? It's also worth noting your employer may even have free charging on site. A second part to this statement is taking those long trips where you do way over 30 miles. Is it possible? Are EVs best suited to as small city cars? The answer is no, and the data actually backs it up. Looking at the impact report again, the report actually shows that EVs tracked in the UK over the first 3 years of ownership are like to use a Tesla for way more miles than another comparative EV with lower rated miles. Therefore, customers are using their Tesla as their main car, doing an average of more than 10,000 miles per annum, which is more than the average everyday driver. Probably most likely due to the range advantage that Tesla holds. We also need to remember that range anxiety isn't exclusively an EV problem as well. Lots of people worry about their fuel count in their ICE vehicles too, as they watch it deplete over time. Is it going to make it till payday? Are they going to get home from a trip without needing to refill? No matter what powers your car, it will always be present in a way, but being electric doesn't mean that you're penalised in this. Public fast chargers and supercharger network is growing, thankfully, as we will need more to supplement the upcoming demand. But best of all, you can use this as a simple home socket if you really need some emergency juice. Stop off at the pub. You might be able to use one of theirs if you need a quick stopgap on a trip. But pretty much 97% of charging is going to be home charging. Therefore, you leave fast charging for any sort of long trips only. But doing a long trip, even in the Model 3 SR Plus, is still a dream to work with. Take a look at my most recent road trip video if you're interested in how effective supercharging can be during a long road trip and the time difference of charging between non-charging as well. Before I delve deeper, please remember to support my channel by hitting the like, subscribe button, and notification bell. Such a quick gesture really helps me out if you enjoy Tesla content like this. Again, the next one is another genuine comment that I received. My response is also on the screen. Is also quite straightforward in that any new EV is better than a ICE vehicle, especially from an environmental perspective. So whilst I do favour Tesla vehicles because most of the whole ecosystem principles and just the overall advantages they hold, I wouldn't treat them any differently because selling EVs is the goal, not just selling Tesla. I once had another comment telling me I should have purchased a Renault Zoe over a Tesla as it was cheaper, and whilst it was uncalled for, I mentioned to the individual that it was a cheaper vehicle because it's targeting a different segment of the market. It wouldn't be a family car and fit my circumstances, plus it doesn't fast charge like a Tesla can. I still did not question their purchase because it clearly fit their circumstances and I'm happy for them, but your selection has to fit your own circumstances, and as an owner of a Tesla, the specs and data back up its abilities against alternatives. The next one involves another YouTube comment about the battery. ICE cars won't need a battery swap. I mean, it probably will. Have they never heard of the 12-volt battery used to start the car and run the electrics of the ICE car? However, what they are actually questioning is the longevity of the battery pack via degradation. Assessing the battery pack on a new vehicle can be hard as it needs to be data driven. The packs in the car are designed to outlive an ICE equivalent and the car itself. So they should last over a few 100,000 miles at present, and the upcoming 4680 battery pack is rumoured to be their 1 million mile battery, which is way more and over 5 times more life than an ICE equivalent. Whilst I can't prove the data on the Model 3 yet, the impact report does detail the battery pack capacity retention for the Model S and X, which are running an older style battery pack. Even these packs are lasting over 200,000 miles and only losing around 10% of its original capacity on average. So these packs shouldn't rapidly deteriorate. Let's not forget ICE doesn't retain its performance either. Over time it gets less efficient and less horsepower over time, not to mention the 8-year battery and over 100,000 mile battery motor warranty on offer by Tesla for the Model 3. So if anyone mentions about battery swapping, it'll probably outlive their ICE car and still have around 90% of the battery capacity. 8 years warranty is also double the term of the average ownership of a car, so it's a great safety net to have. The next one is one that someone mentioned to me face to face. The grid won't keep up if everyone gets an electric car, for which I responded that if there's money to be made, power will always be available. This goes back to the first point though, that the grid will always get greener, and the introduction of renewable energy together with battery storage will ensure sufficient green electric power can be deployed at the most demanding times. We also tend to charge at the cheapest times, being the early hours of the morning where costs are super low, as electricity supply is high and demand is low, in which the grid doesn't like holding excess power, hence the price differences on offer by Octopus Energy, which is my energy provider. I've dropped a referral link in the description if you want to take a look at them. What happens if you have a power cut? This is one of my favourite criticisms about EVs. If you charge it every night, you pretty much always have almost a full range at your disposal in the morning. So if you're doing your average drive of 30 miles a day, you have a good buffer over a number of days, even with just 200 miles in the battery. But if someone asked me this question, my immediate answer would be, can you pump fuel or gas into your car during a power cut too? Because they also need electricity to pump the fuel, and that tends to be forgotten in the moment. That's it. Hopefully you have the firepower now to respond to any unnecessary excuses about EVs, and you can now comfortably convince them that a Tesla or another EV is the future of driving. My one excuse that I do struggle dealing with is the upfront price. It may be expensive at first, but the cost of ownership is way cheaper to run, and the average running costs per month will be cheaper than a cheap petrol alternative, just like the BMW comparison video that I did. What will really make EVs a reality for those that can't still step up to the Tesla Model 3 yet or equivalent is the upcoming Tesla Compact. This will be a hatchback and has been rumoured to be already fully designed now and could be ready for production sooner than what we actually think. So the initial entry price is targeting $25,000. So UK wise, I'm expecting it to be about £25,000. If they can hit that price point, even if it is a few £1,000s more, it's the cost of ownership that will be really the one to look out for. If you're paying a tenth of the amount on electric over fuel in a month, that's a big chunk of the monthly repayment. So work out the cost differences and you can use my video as an example to help you. But rest assured, cheaper electric cars are on the way. That's it. Now you've been informed. Don't forget to support my channel by hitting the like, subscribe, share the video with your friends, family. I really enjoy doing these Tesla vlogs. Support is always hugely welcomed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.